Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Patty and I go by Patty Mac Makes everywhere online. And in today's video we're going to talk about Grainline and how to use Grainline, or how it becomes significant when we're putting quilt blocks together. I actually had a viewer who mentioned in a previous video that she was kind of, I don't want to say scared, but sort of scared off because somebody else told her that Grainline was really super important, and if you didn't have that down, then you were going to have all these terrible things happen to your quilt. Okay, first of all, it's just sewing. So nobody flip out and nobody feel like you can't do these things. You can do these things. It'll take a little practice, and that's okay. What the heck? You know, this is how we learn. We learn by doing. So, Grainline, what does that mean? Grainline means the direction of the way the fabric was made. In quilting, we use a woven cotton fabric. And what that means is the fiber is cotton, and it means that this fabric is woven. So we have threads going this way and threads going this way, and they are interwoven, and that's how the fabric is created. And on a woven fabric, you have your selvage line, which is that area of the fabric where the information on the fabric is printed, and your color grid and all of that. And so that's your selvage line. That's a grain line. And then you have the crosswise grain. That is the edge where the fabric is cut. So when you go to the fabric store and they roll it off of the bolt, they line it up and they cut it on an edge. And the edge that they're cutting on, that's your cross grain. And then you have, at the 45-degree angle, something called bias. Okay, so that's your bias line. Now, what does all this have to do with anything? Well, a lot. And it has to do with the stability of the fabric, because wovens are your most stable, which means least stretchy fabrics. And we want to be mindful of, are we sewing on Grainline? Are we sewing on the cross grain? Or are we sewing on the bias? And I tried to pick a couple of fabrics that were, this one is more directional because you can kind of make out the way that that print is going, but this one we don't really know. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at this, and I'm going to just show you that when I come in and I move or try to stretch the fabric, there's very little stretch right there. Then when I come over this way, let's see, there's more stretch. See how there's more stretch doing that than doing this? Like, that doesn't move at all. That's very stable. This has a little bit of stretch to it. Now watch this. When I go on the bias, oh my gosh, that's a lot of stretch. Okay, so this is why you want to make sure that you have your fabrics laid out straight and correct, because if you're sewing cattywampus or crooked, see how stretchy it is? That's going to like just mess everything up. And so that's why when you're sewing these triangles, it's hard, because you're sewing on a bias line. So it's a very different thing. So starting with things that are square, that's a lot easier, trust me. So I like everybody to start out with like a 4-patch, because then you're learning how to sew straight lines on a stable straight fabric. So this non-stretchy area, that is the grain line. That is what follows your selvage. This is your least stretchy part of the fabric. And we want to sew grain line to grain line. Okay, so when we come over here and we check this fabric, okay, that's not very stretchy, so let's check it this way. Ooh, that's pretty stretchy. And you can feel it. It's one of those things where you're just going to feel it. So we know that we want this and this to go together. And then additionally, we want to have this grain line, this non-stretchy, to be parallel to the sides of our quilting project. So if you're doing a quilt that is like a rectangle, you're going to have a long side and a short side. We want this to be on the long side, this grain line. So here's what we don't want. So we have checked, and this is not stretchy. So if I turn it and see that stretchy, we don't want to put those two together because they're going to get crazy under the machine when we go to sew. We want to make sure that we're putting them together this way. Now that we know where the grain line is, then we're just going to put our right sides together and take it over to the machine and sew on that side right there. I hope that helps to explain a little bit about some of the craziness that is dealing with fabric, and that it helps you when you go to set up to sew your quilting project. And if you have questions, drop them below. I will do my best to answer them. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the notification bell and all of the fun stuff. And I'll see you in the next video.